Vikings versus Titans, GMG in the Raw. Everybody, it's Dave here, and we are back for another episode of Good Morning Gallahorn in the Raw. And we just had a wonderful but close, nail-biting game that did not finish the way we wanted. A little bit of wine there. But joining me, I have to my viewers' right, the one, the only, the great, the fantastic, the Drewster. Drew, how you doing?
What is the word wonderful start with?
W. Okay, the underful. And to my viewers left, we have the absolutely outstanding, awesome Mr. Flipmazzi. How you doing, Flip?
Hey, where do we start today? Do we start talking about the loss, or do we call this one a moral defeat?
A moral defeat? No,
Is there such a thing?
I'd call it, there's some moral victories in there. When your defense is down 6 starters, a 7th backup, and you still hold the opposing team who went to the AFC Championship to 6 field goals and a touchdown, there is some improvement there, at least in my books. Drew said last week he'd like to see some improvement. Drew, did you see any improvement?
Well, sure. That was a much better game than the first 2 games we saw, even though
the results is similar.
Yeah, I'm still kind of a pain. We're still 0-3. Part of that's nagging at me. I would have liked to have. It's a tough loss, especially I think since they had that game. I think they kind of gave it away. They couldn't. The defense did what you just said, but they still couldn't get the timely stop when they needed it.
Right.
They blew that 24-12 lead pretty quick, but they were in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It was Jefferson's coming out party. Cousins played much better. Cook went off. I mean, the Vikings overall played a lot better as a team. But, still you want to try to get a win on the thing. But I don't know. I'm kind of mixed right now.
What about you there, Flip?
Yeah. I mean, I was excited, going into the locker room at halftime with the 8-point lead, coming out, going up 12, hitting that long Justin Jefferson pass. We got a 12-point lead. That's exciting. We saw a lot of great things from both the offense and the defensive side of the ball. Ultimately, a loss is a loss. Main culprit, it's got to be that defense that allowed Tennessee to score on 5 of their last 6 drives. Should we be happy that those were field goals instead of touchdowns? Well, if you looked at the numbers, you saw Tennessee was more of a consistent scoring team than a really explosive scoring team. They scored on 65% of their drives going into this game. The Vikings held them in the first half, but they just stuck with Derrick Henry, ran him into us, and the defense eventually just
wore down,
kept on leaking out those points. So great on the defense. We saw a lot of improvement in tough situations without Mike Hughes, without Cameron Dantzler, without Daniil Hunter, without Anthony Barr. They definitely played better. They still gave up 464 yards of total offense, 22 second half points. So it was we're starting to trend in the right direction. Now it's about how do we take the next step, because again, it's not good enough.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt, it's not. Now you talk about the defense. About midway through the third quarter, I noted that they had stopped third down conversions. What was it? Tennessee made only 1 out of 9 against our defense.
1 for 9, yeah.
And about halfway through the third quarter or better. but it was that constant beating, right? That wore them down.
Constant beating, wore them down. They started 1 for 9. Tennessee finished the game 3 for 13 on third down conversions, which is great job by Zimmers defense. But we also saw Tennessee start to avoid those third downs. They would get 8 yards on first down, then easy pass for the first down. Jeff Gladney gets beat deep by Khalif Raymond on the deep pass there for Tennessee. They end up taking the lead there. And those are just points where we have to say, look, can we expect better from this defense? Or is this a D that's going to let up 30 points a game? It's a new NFL. It's a modern NFL. The rules favor the offense. So if we have a defense that's going to allow 30 points a game, what can the offense realistically do?
Well, I'm thinking we can expect the D to do that, especially since over half of them are out because of injury. And we're so young. There's going to be lapses. You've got to overcome that with the offense, though.
It seemed like Flippin mentioned going into halftime, and feeling really good about that. I was, and it was 24-12. The Vikings looked like a completely different team. And then, even though things got bad and edgy down the stretch, we get the ball back with 1:44. Granted, no timeouts, but we get it at 1:44. The first play is a personal foul on Cousins. So we have it at the 40-yard line with no timeouts. All you got to get is 25 yards. That I don't know what the percentages on that is, but that's not really a tough thing to do. So the game is really, I'm watching it going, we're in pretty damn good position here because we can run, that's plenty of time. If there was like 16 seconds, I'd be worried. But 1:40, you could run all your off. You can run anything. You could run anything because you could spike the ball. I mean, you only have to get 25 yards from the 40. And I'm thinking, I wasn't worried at all. And then these awful plays, just terrible. And it was like the most awful drive when you need a drive. I was just standing there shaking my head going, all the good that I had for this game just all evaporated on that last drive. I mean, it wasn't even like one good play. There was a bad snap, a sack. They're only rushing 3 guys. It was just terrible. It was just terrible. So they didn't give themselves a chance to win a game that, man, I thought that they deserved to win. They deserved to win that game, I think.
It took all the wind out of their sails. And, that's something where you got to play 60 minutes. You got to have a complete game. The offensive line really had shades of the defensive performance where they started slow, but they had a really good second quarter, third quarter, even into the fourth quarter. The offensive line did a much better job of protecting Kirk Cousins. But then you get down to the end there, and you've got bad protection. You've got bobbled snaps. I mean, what is this the fourth bobbled snap or bad snap in 3 games with nobody in the stadium? It's you got to play complete football. You got to play for all 60 minutes. Again, I'm not going to be that negative here because everything where you talk about the intangibles with this football team was better. They had a better start. They looked into the game. We had our best players making the best plays on the field. We had leadership today, and the attitude was better. So I can't hate on them completely. But again, you got to play 60 minutes.
Speaking of the good portions, what did you think of Justin Jefferson's breakout day? Drew, what do you think?
I thought it kicked ass. I mean, how else do you answer that? That's about the best breakout day you can have. The guy, it took 2 weeks, but he kind of made up for it all in this game.
7 catches, 175 yards, and a touchdown.
He looked fantastic. I mean, he looked like.
And the only ball he dropped was the very good defense one by Malcolm Butler, where Butler had his arm in between the ball and his hands.
Hey, we got a guy, man. We got a guy with Justin Jefferson. This dude
he ain't no Treadwell. He ain't no Treadwell.
He's got all the skill, all the route running, all the production. You see him get that first down, and look, he's the one who's pointing first down right in that defender's face. That's what we need. That's the type of, huge first down to extend that drive. make a statement, start talking some crap. And then what do you get? A couple plays later, Dalvin Cook's trotting in the end zone. That's the type of attitude, not just his on-field talent, not just the fact that Kirk Cousins has another weapon. It's a guy who's not going to be satisfied with how this season has been going so far. So I'm excited to watch that young kid. I'm so glad he flashed today, and I expect more of that in the future.
Oh, I do too, and I don't expect Chad Beebe to be the starter over Jefferson anymore.
The Vikings certainly had a lot more spark today, a little bit of swagger and a little bit of punchback.
When was Chad Beebe starting over Jefferson?
He technically, on the first two games, Chad Beebe was listed as the wide receiver.
I would, I don't want to downplay what we did either, the good things that we did, because we've been playing so shitty up till now. But if I'm a Tennessee fan with a minute 44, I'm thinking we're going to lose. So they're pretty fortunate to come out on the winning side of the, outside of that thing. But the Jefferson, Cook did well. I mean, there is a lot of good.
Cook had his best rushing game of his career. He was
high.
181 yards. He only had one touchdown, but 181 yards. He did have that fumble early. But he was on fire. Madison was on fire. Madison had.
At least they didn't get blown out and dominated.
Years. No.
Which is what they've been doing the first 2 weeks. I mean, at least they made a game of it and they were competitive, and that's kind of what I asked for last week. But
and what did you think of that Rudolph catch?
Oh, we've seen him do it before. Love Kyle Rudolph near the red zone. You trust that guy. You trust his hands. You trust him to be great in jump ball and contested situations. It's our best players making the best plays. That's what you really like to see from this team. You like to see Justin Jefferson join those ranks as a guy we can count on the offensive side of the ball. You also love to see Yannick Ngakoue getting more disruption on the defensive ball. Harrison Smith with that huge interception. These are name brands who are starting to play like it. And so that's very encouraging.
And he had a couple of tackles for losses, too.
Yeah.
He was hitting. He was booming. So was Harris. Bowman was laying some wood. Now, with all that, what happened in the last few minutes? Why did that change? Why didn't we come out aggressive in that last couple minutes?
It just took all the wind out of our sails. I think we came out very aggressive. We came out passing, got the personal foul penalty, like Drew said, came out passing again. The pressure kind of got to Kirk Cousins there. So, and then, came out passing. We got the bad snap for a 14-yard loss. So it wasn't play calling. I think Gary Kubiak proved a lot today, not only with the decision to unveil Justin Jefferson and have the patience to wait until week 3 until that kid was ready for a performance like this, but also, leaning on the right arm of Kirk Cousins when they needed to. The execution just wasn't there. And so that's something they need to practice. They need to fight through it. They need to watch the film and, take the next step now that they've taken this initial one.
Drew, where do you think they can tweak to overcome that?
This is the definition of a game coming down to a handful of plays, because both teams were making mistakes. It's just one team made one more mistake than the other one. I mean, Tennessee's nothing special. I don't expect them to do anything. Where does it go from here? I think it's a step in the right direction to getting back to where they want to be. I don't know if at 0-3, you don't know much for, running the season out, see how the season. At this point, you're just trying to play better week to week. I mean, you're 0-3. You want to build on this and maybe get a win the next week, and then try to climb out of the hole and get back in there. But you know what? It wasn't 45-10.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, here's the thing with the Vikings: is that performance what we saw today? If we can expect that every week, this team will be fine. But they can't have those negative games like they did in week 1 and week 2. If they come out looking like they did today for the first 3 weeks of the year, maybe we are 1-2. Maybe we're 2-1. You have to give yourselves a chance every week. You got to give yourself a shot. But they didn't do that until today. So we've thrown 2 games away. We lost this tough 1-point loss. Right. Sitting here at 0-3, and now it's time to get real because – yes, we're encouraged. We have some good things to show, But hey, you want to make the playoffs, you got a 94%. You have a 6% chance to make the playoffs right now. Okay.
You know what, Dave?
And that's with the expanded field.
Dave,
it was
with
to
the
answer your
expanded.
question.
Yeah, before the expanded field, it was 2%.
I'll say it like this: the first 2 weeks, we didn't have the ball with a minute 44 and a chance to win. We weren't even close to that. So at least we got that this week, you know.
No.
Right.
But still, I hate losing.
Well, I know.
But again, you know, you got to go 9-4 down the stretch here if you want to be real about playoffs. If you don't want to be real about playoffs, that's the decision. That's the talking point. Is what does this team do now? What are you looking for from the rest of the Vikings here now that they're 0-3?
You could quote me. The Vikings aren't going to the playoffs. And I don't mean to sound like a downer, but I'm just telling you that's how it is. They don't look like a team that lost 2 fluky losses and they're trying to, those first 2 losses spelled it out for me. But again, that probably be pitchforks and torches outside my door saying it, but I don't see it still. Even with the performance today, I don't see it being a playoff team.
Well,
the defense is just,
Drew,
how many points do they give up a game? 40 and 30 and 30? I mean, that's...
Yeah. So, Drew, with this defensive performance, it looked better, but again, 464 yards, 30 points allowed. That's a lot. And I know, I listened to the pregame show that you did with Rhino. You seem to say that, if we go with the young guys, that might give Mike Zimmer a little bit of job security. And I didn't quite understand that. So now sitting here 0-3,
well,
what do you think?
I don't think you just take all the rookies in cash in the season by just going with all the young guys. I mean, you want to play your young guys. My point was, if you just, without raising the white flag, saying you're going to raise the white flag by the team you're putting out on the field, and you're going to make it obvious that you're playing for next year, like a baseball team at the end of the season, when the last week of the season they got all these minor leaguers out there to pitcher you've never heard of. They're kind of playing for next year, and I think that gives Zimmer the right to be the head coach next year. If he says, you know what, we went with the youth movement after week 5, we weren't going to go to the playoffs, so how can you expect? You can't hold those losses against me if I didn't have my best player.
And it's his fault.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying that's what a head coach can. He can go to Wilf and say that. I mean, they can play up. They can play it up any way they want. They can play it up any way they want.
The Wilfs are fools if they listen to that narrative. If Mike Zimmer doesn't make the playoff, he needs to get his ass off the team.
See where I'm looking at it.
I'm surprised Dave didn't kick you off the show, because Dave, Zimmer could go 0-16 and Dave wants to give him an extension. Dave doesn't think he doesn't need. I don't. To this day, when I discuss Dave with Zimmer, I don't know. I asked Dave what, because Dave has excuses for him. What the hell is Zimmer responsible for, Dave? Tell me. Because according to
he's obviously the head coach, but
it's the players.
This year to me,
the GM.
This year to me seems like 2016 all over again, only the defensive version, because we have 6 starters out on defense. 2 more got hurt today, but after they were out a little bit, they came back in. And Eric Kendricks and Ifeadi Odenigbo, right? And that's 6 starters plus backups that have hurt, like Troy Dye, who went on IR. That's awfully hard to win when you've got over half your defense is out due to injuries.
I don't.
In the
care
NFL,
about any of that. I honestly don't.
In the
what
NFL,
about week 1?
That's hard.
Week one, he didn't have all that, and the team looked down and like shit.
Well, they had a good number.
In 2016, the expectations were not the playoffs. That was not there was.
Oh yes, they were. We went in with the expectations, the playoffs. Teddy was going to have a good year, and then Teddy in the last week blows his knee. We trade for Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford comes in and Sean Hill won the first game, and then Sam Bradford comes in and wins the next. And then the entire offensive line implodes and gets injured, and we're cycling people in, just like we've signed Conley as a linebacker. We've signed Davis as a linebacker, who got to play this week and got at least one tackle.
What are you saying? Zimmer gets
How many
pass?
strikes does the guy like? If he fails in 2016, if he failed in 2018, and now if he's going to fail in 2020,
how can you blame the head coach for injuries?
It's injuries every year. There's injuries all over this league. Look at the 49ers. They won by
too.
30 points. They won by 30 points this
week.
There
you go. There's a good example. The Niners are down a bunch of starters, and they won by 30 points.
You coach them up. Mike Zimmer has lasted here for too long with premium draft talent, with premium free agents. These are his guys. The second we get young, the second we ask the defensive coach to start coaching up mid-round talent, to start actually adding value to the team, maybe Mike Zimmer's just been making his bread based off first and second round picks, for all I know, because I haven't seen an ability for him to take diamonds in the rough. Outside of Danielle Hunter, he's got to start coaching these guys up. He's got to do it, or he's gone.
But see, that's one way to look at it. Dave looks at it from, if he doesn't have the firepower, it's not his fault.
Yeah, you make the firepower. You make it.
That's why you're the head coach.
Right.
You have injuries. Boo. How did Bender say it? The Breakfast Club? BOOHOO. You deal with the cards given to you, man. And if he's got injuries, you find another way to win. A good coach finds another way to win. A good coach doesn't say, "Oh, I don't have enough talent to win." He finds a fucking way to win.
And he obviously tried this week because we did better and we scored 30 points and we were in the game until the very end. There's improvement. You wanted improvement, Drew. You said last week you needed to see improvement.
I'm talking about long term for the season.
Long term.
I'm not going to start laying out injuries now as reason to pay Zimmer for another season. That's horse shit.
It's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to buy low, get another coach on here, come back healthy next year with, I don't know, a first-round quarterback.
Dave likes
it'd be sweet, and then eat the $41 million.
Understand, Dave likes Mike Zimmer.
Quarterback.
Take his heart out of it.
I love Mike Zimmer too.
Yeah, but we were talking strictly football. Dave just likes him. So he thinks no matter what he does in the field, there's always an excuse.
Talking football.
I want Mike Zimmer to figure this out.
Well, we all do.
I'm cheering for Mike Zimmer to make the playoffs. If he doesn't make the playoffs, that is a failure, and he's got to go.
Okay. I have nothing to add.
As long as you take Spielman with him.
Huh?
Take Spielman with him.
You could have took Spielman 4 years ago. I don't care about him.
Oh.
No, I can't add to Flipmazzi's last take. That was perfectly said. That's how I feel.
Flip, Rhino agrees. You're on fire 100%.
I said this in a post. I'll ask Flip this in a post. It's a very simple way to look at it. You can simplify the whole thing. All this stuff is just blocking and tackling. It's just football. When you look at the Vikings roster, all the way down the roster, and we can put asterisks next to injuries, are they a team that should have made the playoffs, should have won 11 games, shoulda? What are they to you, Flip?
Last year, 100% they're that team. What we, again, as fans, we always underrate the attitude and the culture here. You look at the mindset of the 2019 Vikings. They had their soft spots too. They started 2-2, and they had really bad games against Chicago and Green Bay to start that year, similar to what we're seeing now. The difference is they woke up and the attitude, the mentality changed, where they said, you know what, we're going to go out there. You only live once. We're going to play our best ball on the field. We're going to go out there with swagger, with attitude. We're going to dictate the pace of these games. And that's at least what we started to see today, is maybe even if we don't have the same talent, they've got the mindset that, like, look, we're going and we're challenging for a win every single week. So, if we can keep that going, then sure, Zimmer has a chance, but he's going to have to pull off a miracle here.
Oh, yeah. Now,
so you think he should be gone if they don't make the playoffs?
100%.
Dave thinks
it depends on the conditions, but most likely yes. Now we have Christopher Gates, the one and only head of Daily Norseman, asks, if this team gets a top 5 pick, will they take Penny Sewell because of
the big tackle?
They can't get out from underneath Kirk Cousins' contract? Will they take it? And I've heard this on the radio this week. Will they take the tackle versus taking the quarterback and then eating all that money for Kirk Cousins?
It's too early to say exactly what the Vikings' biggest need is going to be. If they have a top 5 pick, there is only one position that can change a bad team, one of the worst teams in the NFL, one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL, to a good team quickly, and that's the quarterback. So if you want to just wait until 2022 before the Vikings can challenge for a Super Bowl again, then fine. Then draft the offensive tackle and just pay Kirk Cousins to be average for the next 2 years. But if you really want to do something aggressive and not be passive, not wait, then you figure out a way to do what the Arizona Cardinals did when they drafted Kyler Murray right after drafting Josh Rosen. You find a way to move on from Alex Smith like the Kansas City Chiefs did, or how the Carson Wentz Eagles, they traded Sam Bradford to make way for Carson Wentz. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be contentious. People are going to get their toes stepped on. People on Twitter and Facebook are going to be fighting about it, but you go and you get that quarterback.
And it better be a quarterback that doesn't fail.
Drew, what did I write in the offseason that takes to win a Super Bowl?
I don't know. I don't read a lot of stuff. You're right.
Oh, that's probably true. I did a study. No. It takes that quarterback. That is the key. Unless you have the generational defense, it takes that quarterback, that elite quarterback with the it factor, to take you all the way there. That is the one thing your whole franchise should always be going for. Period. Because without that, you're not going to get there.
Let me ask this real quick.
Go ahead.
Flip, let me get your opinion on this. Look at Cousins against the Colts, and look at him today. How the hell can one person be? How can it be that end of the spectrum? How can it be like that? Tell me how. The offensive line hasn't really changed in 1 week. I mean, he didn't look like Joe Montana, but he certainly didn't look like he did with the Colts. How can you be that piss poor and then throw 3 touchdowns? You know what I'm saying? How can the variance be that big with that guy? What is up with that guy?
I mean, Kirk is a manifestation of his surroundings. And last week against the Colts, the offensive line didn't play well, and the Vikings only had one receiver to throw to. This is all we need with Kirk Cousins, is we need everything else to be perfect. Like, the offensive line improved, so Kirk Cousins improved. We had Justin Jefferson flash, so Kirk Cousins improved. So once you can start to supplement this guy with other offensive weapons, with better protection, this is a normal expected bounce back for Kirk Cousins. But I mean, I can't guarantee that the offensive line is going to be great every week. I can't guarantee that the weapons are going to be able to work themselves open. We still haven't seen Irv Smith. So can we just win on the right item or Kirk Cousins? He threw 2 interceptions in this game, just like he did again, or he threw 3 interceptions against the Colts. One was meaningless. So it's his performance was better because the surroundings were better.
Sometimes
and now we just need to see consistency from Jefferson. We got to see it from the offensive line.
Okay, speaking of interceptions, that interception today where he threw straight into the defender's arms, was that Kirk Cousins letting it fly and it went too quick, or was that Justin Jefferson running a curl instead of running it out?
It looked like after I seen it 3 times, it looked like a route problem to me.
Yeah, I can't tell whether it's quarterback or receiver there. A clear miscommunication. I can't hate on Kirk's game today. He played well. He did everything he needed to do. I
didn't bring the question up to as an avenue of hate. I just wanted to. It's so inconsistent. Yeah. I wanted your take on how can a guy play like that 1 week and then come out and play like he did. Sometimes you gotta be the guy when everything.
It goes to Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak's got to keep this Kirk guy. He's got to continue to give Kirk easy options to get him warmed up and to have a new dynamic to the offense, such as Justin Jefferson that we saw today. So next week, maybe it's Irv Smith Jr. Maybe, they start spreading it out. I don't know what the solution is. Maybe they start working the running back screen game more, but you just got to keep on inventing new ways for Kirk Cousins to succeed, because he's not going to innovate by his own.
That's got to be I don't know what the stats are in front of me for the defense, though. The first 3 weeks, that's probably the most the Vikings have allowed, maybe. I mean, I'd be interested to know when they gave up after 3 weeks the amount of yardage they've given up this year. I guarantee it's not since Zimmer's been here, but it's a lot. We're 1,500 yards in 3 games. I mean,
well, the points is what it comes down to. So
sure,
43 points, 28 points, and 31 points. It's a lot of scoring.
That's 102 in 3 games. Holy shit!
And again, Drew, like, this is where I talk. If we don't think we're making the playoffs, then let's start looking at these youngsters. Let's get Mike Hughes, Cameron Dantzler back on the field. We gotta dig into why Jeff Gladney is struggling. I think it's just rookie mistakes, and he can grow. Holton Hill, same thing.
And I understand what you're saying, but in that same sense, after 12 games and we're 2-10. Zimmer, he can use that to say, I deserve another year, can he? That was my point the other day. He could say, look what I'm doing here.
We're looking for the players that will survive a coaching change in that scenario. I'm not saying that's happening, but you look at the Mike Zimmer Vikings,
I follow you.
Harrison Smith got here before Mike Zimmer was here. Xavier Rhodes
was here before Zimmer.
Was here. Everson Griffin was here. So you're looking for those 3 or 4 players who can actually, because when a new coach comes in, they're all gone, man.
Right.
Odenigbo's out of here. Shamar Stevens out of here. Eric Wilson might even be out of here. There's a house clean that happens. That maybe even Anthony Harris is gone. So you got to look at the guys who are like, okay, we can still keep X player. We can still keep Y player. This young guy is flashing. That's what we're looking for if this Viking season continues to head south.
Yeah, but Zimmer's going to be the one. I'm going to play who I think can win, and that may not be the young guys. He's going to max it out.
If
he's not going to sit there and go, well, I'm done this year, and I'm going to set up for next year. That's not the way that works.
So we have a 6% chance of making the playoffs. Should Danielle Hunter come back?
What's the injury? I need to know what the injury is.
He's got a neck injury.
All we know is it's neck something.
If he can re-injure himself, probably not. I wouldn't bring him back.
It depends.
If he heals up 100%, why wouldn't he play? I don't understand. But if it means something that's going to be,
we should be cautious with Danielle Hunter.
I think so too. That guy is that guy. I mean, you're talking about a guy that could easily lead the league in sacks. You don't mess around. That's your prize dude going into next year.
Danielle Hunter would be an all-world Hall of Fame player.
You're not going to take a chance on him. I personally, the question I answered, I would sit him as much as I'd love seeing him play.
But if your job's on the line,
my job's not.
But that's what we're talking about.
That's a good question. I mean, okay. Zimmer needs to back out there to save his job. We need him to not injure himself even further, because we know this year's in the toilet. We're looking at 2021. That's a great example. Who wins that battle? Probably
maybe it's not in the toilet. Maybe the Vikings, go 9-4 down the stretch, squeak into the playoffs, and
that would be amazing.
We'll see what happens.
And speaking of neck injuries, there's Mike Hughes with his, which is worrisome, and is turning into another first round, basically bust. Unfortunately.
I got to give Mike Hughes all 3 years. It's not looking good so far.
I was hoping Hill grabbed that pick at the end, man. That was damn close.
That was close.
Yes! One play away from winning it, boys.
That's right.
We probably lost because Drew's been wearing that Michigan shirt.
Bud Grant.
That explains it all right now.
Anyway, with that, let's wrap this show up. Any last words, Flip?
Trust in the young guys, man. We got Justin Jefferson going finally. Let's see some more from Irv Smith. I like Garrett Bradbury. He had a better game this game. So starts looking for those young offensive stars to flash. Maybe the defensive guys come around too, but something to build on. Let's keep on hunting for that first W.
Drew?
Meow, meow, Viking cow. We played better. At least I wanted to stay interested watching this game all the way through. It was a better showing than the first 2 weeks. Bottom line is it's 0-3, and we're off to where now? Are we on the road? Where are we going now?
We're going to Houston.
Going to Houston. It's all about beating Houston and getting a W.
And I think they lost today to the Steelers, but they were up most of the game.
And next week, if we win with the W, you could use wonderful. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it again.
With that, I want to thank everybody for watching.
Thanks, folks.
Our shows
Go
come
Vikings.
on Daily Norseman, YouTube as you're watching right now, and you'll see our content across the spectrum this week. Follow Climb in the Pocket Network on YouTube and at Daily Norseman for your latest and greatest Vikings news. And as always, Skol Vikings! Let's win that game. At least that first one. Have a great week.
Justin Jefferson, baby.
Man, that guy's good at run up the catch.
Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.